What's up, family? Welcome to the Diamond K Show, where we break down the biggest stories in politics, news, and pop culture with no fluff, no spin, and definitely no sugarcoating. If it's happening in America, you know we're talking about it right here. And I'm going to give it to you real, straight up, unfiltered, but backed by logic. I'm going to go beyond the headlines and cut through the noise, break down the facts, and call out the BS, because the truth always matters. Plus, I keep it fresh with DJ mixes on the weekends and new music dropping on my YouTube channel, DJ Diamond K. So whether it's politics, culture, or the hottest stories of the day, we got you locked in right here. So we're going to get into it, and let's do it. This is the Diamond K Show. The system is known as the Integrated Data Retrieval System, and it is used by the IRS employees to review tax information, issue notices, and update taxpayer records. Now, Elon Musk and his DOGE crew has asked for access to this IRS taxpayer data system. If granted, DOGE, Elon Musk, and his cronies would have personal financial details on millions of Americans. Millions. What is going on here? Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has made the request for this system. This information first reported by ABC News. Now, if they have access to this file, this file system, which is tightly controlled within the agency, everybody that works there does not have access to the system. It has not been granted as of now, but who knows what's going to happen. Still, the request itself for this access is alarming. Not only within the government, but privacy experts who say that granting Elon Musk access to Americans' private taxpayer data could be extraordinarily dangerous. You think? What is going on here? Elon Musk has been estimated to be the richest man in the world. He's criticized federal judges for curbing his power and called for their impeachment. So some of them are buckling under the pressure. Elon Musk has also alleged, without any evidence, that what else is new, or examples, or any type of example of wrongdoing, that federal employees are defrauding the taxpayers. So they've got this conspiracy thing going. And earlier this month, DOGE, which is the department that he is running, this department that just came out of the clear blue sky, the employees are demanding access to the Treasury Department's vast payment system responsible for managing trillions of dollars in government expenditures. So that access triggered a lawsuit by 19 states that has been temporarily blocked by a federal judge. So the White House, of course, not responding. This is a disaster. This is a mess. And so we are watching what Elon Musk and his DOGE crew are attempting to do with regards to taxpayers and their information. The CDC's disease detectors are among the hundreds that were fired as Donald Trump's administration ramps up their agency cuts. Now, officials from the administration last week informed CDC leaders of plans to cut up to 10% of its workforce as it targeted federal probationary employees. So the Trump administration said on Saturday, and they did on Saturday, terminate hundreds of employees at the CDC, including fellows responsible for key public health roles, according to sources within the agency. So among them were about 24 workers who made up the LLS, which is the Laboratory Leadership Service. Now, this is a group responsible for training public health laboratory staffers and supporting outbreak response efforts. The 2-year fellowship launched in 2015, focused on laboratory safety and regulatory compliance. So the termination emails, which were sent out to the LLS staff members on Saturday evening, cited poor performance as the reason for the firings, even though most of the dismissed employees have excellent performance reviews. So multiple outlets have reported that a larger sister program at the CDC called the Epidemic Intelligence Service, or EIS, known as the agency's disease detectives, was expected to be cut significantly as well. So Donald Trump mishandled the last pandemic that happened, the COVID pandemic. And with all of the problems, health problems that could be on the horizon, this is what they're choosing to do. So as of yesterday, 2 officials who spoke with NBC News had not heard of firings at the Epidemic Intelligence Service, that section of the CDC. But it is going around. A lot of folks being terminated. Even if the EIS was spared, there are multiple fellowships that were not. And that this is a pipeline for the next generation of CDC leaders, according to officials. Other departments that had cuts included the Presidential Management Fellows, which aims to develop future public health leaders, and the Public Health Associate Program, which assigns fellows to local health agencies. The termination process has been chaotic. It has lacked transparency, and it just seems like it's going to continue. Representatives for the White House, the CDC, and the Department of Health and Human Services have not responded to any requests for comment on this matter. But we're going to continue to follow this. Now, in recent years, the LLS fellows have assisted with fever testing and a lot of different things of that nature, right? In 2020, the group oversaw COVID-19 testing for thousands of residents of Arizona. And their dismissal messages were sent the day after the Trump administration informed CDC leaders of the plan to fire nearly 1,300 probationary employees, roughly 1/10 of the workforce. So they are going through, they are just, taking an axe to all of these different agencies. And we don't know as of now what the impact is going to be for this. So you have an unelected, just the unelected richest man in the world, according to all reports, the richest man in the world, just rummaging through the very sensitive data. And they're making a lot of mistakes. They're doing things without any transparency. And this guy, did I say he was unelected already? Yeah, unelected. Now, the Trump administration is trying to bring back some fired nuclear weapons workers in a reversal. Like I said, they're moving too fast, and it's not even clear what they're doing. So the Trump administration halted the firing of hundreds of federal employees who were tasked with working on the nation's nuclear weapons programs. Now they're doing this about face that has left workers confused, as experts caution that DOGE's blind cost cutting would put communities at risk. So it's putting communities at risk. It's putting the nation at risk. According to the Associated Press, up to 350 employees at the National Nuclear Security Administration, were abruptly laid off on late Thursday, with some losing access to email before they even learned that they were fired, only to try to enter their offices on Friday morning to find out that they were locked out, treated with no respect. The officials said that that's what happened, but no official wanted to put their name to it, so they spoke on the condition of anonymity. So they didn't want to get retaliated against. One of the hardest hit offices was near Amarillo, Texas, which saw about 30% of the cuts. Those employees work on reassembling warheads, one of the most sensitive jobs across the nuclear weapons enterprise. And they have the highest level of clearance. So the hundreds that were let go in that National Nuclear Security Administration were part of a DOGE purge across the Department of Energy that targeted about 2,000 employees. But by late Friday, the agency's acting director, Teresa Robbins, issued a memo rescinding the firings for all but 28 of those hundreds of fired staff members. And the letter serves as, let's read a little bit of it. So it says that this letter serves as formal notification that the termination decision issued to you on February the 13th, 2025 has been rescinded effective immediately. And this is part of the memo. Now, the accounts from which three officials contradict the official statement from the Department of Energy said that fewer than 50 National Nuclear Security Administrative staff were let go, calling them probationary employees who held primarily administrative and clerical roles. But that was not the case. So they tried to pull the wool, tried to do some sneaky stuff. These firings prompted one NNSA senior staffer to post a warning and a call to action. And that's where we are. Many federal employees who had worked on the nation's nuclear programs had spent their entire careers there. And there was a wave of retirements in recent years that cost the agency years and years of institutional knowledge. But now, in the midst of a major $750 billion nuclear weapons modernization effort, including new land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles and new stealth bombers, new submarines, launched warheads, all that kind of stuff is going on. The labs have aggressively hired over the past few years. In 2023, 60% of the workforce had been there 5 years or less. So it's a lot going on, and this is not the time nor the agency to be making these type of mistakes. And this confusion can only benefit the adversaries of America. So we've got to be careful with this. Let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Blue Sky, at The Diamond K Show. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you do. YouTube.com/DJ Diamond K. And, make sure you never miss an episode of the show. Anywhere you get your podcast, just search The Diamond K Show. For some reason, Republicans don't have a problem with Elon Musk and what he is doing in and around the government. Big problem. If you remember last week, Elon Musk brought his 4-year-old son to the Oval Office. And not just for a photo op. They were just, it was embarrassing. This billionaire tech mogul appeared alongside Donald Trump in the Oval Office last week. And he made a string of bold and thus far unsubstantiated claims about government fraud, widespread fraud, corruption, while this clown is in the White House with his son. His son is digging up his nose, rubbing crap on the desk, dissing Donald Trump to his face. They call the young man, he's 4 years old, so he acted like a 4-year-old, right? No problem there. They call him a little X. Hilarious. His name is X. Go figure, right? Anyway, Musk is in the Oval Office. The child is there, present. They're having virtually a press conference while the kid is whispering to the president, telling Trump, you're not the president. He needs to shut his mouth, all that kind of stuff, picking his nose, acting like a kid. But the presence of this 4-year-old in the Oval Office during a press conference, it underscores the presence that Elon Musk, who's unelected, is playing in American politics. The Republicans talk about, foreigners coming here. Musk is a foreigner. The preschooler's appearance in the Oval Office is such a double standard. Can you imagine if one of the congresswomen brought their 4-year-old to the press conference? How the mainstream media would have attacked her if, Nancy Mace, if Kamala Harris had brought a 4-year-old to a press conference? Republicans wouldn't be thinking it was cute. Absolutely not. Musk is a father of 12, 13 kids by multiple women. If one of the female congresswomen, if one of the the vice president, if she had 12, 13 kids by multiple men, y'all would be talking greasy about her. The fact that Elon Musk had a bring your kid to work day, even though he doesn't work there, it just underscores how far we have gotten from what's supposed to be happening. There's so many underlying issues. So many. And Donald Trump is sitting there looking castrated and folding his arms and looking like a child that's 4 years old, like the one that's beside him, that was showing him no respect because Elon Musk doesn't show Trump respect clearly in his household. There is an article in ABC News put out, and it is titled, "Is Elon Musk's Government Role Unconstitutional? What the Supreme Court Might Say." And I thought this was an interesting article. It's written by Devin Dower. And critics say the DOGE head must be confirmed by the Senate to be lawful. Going by this double standard, can you imagine if Democrats had somebody like Bill Gates as some type of advisor that was just rummaging through things in the government like Elon Musk is doing? Can you imagine? To critics of Elon Musk, he is an unelected, unaccountable government official wielding expansive executive power in violation of the U.S. Constitution. That is absolutely correct. He's going above and beyond. Now, to Donald Trump, the world's richest man is a trusted advisor and an authorized deputy. He thinks, Donald Trump does, that Elon Musk is leading an unconventional but entirely legal campaign to downsize federal agencies. This is a bunch of BS. But if he wants to make that case, that's fine. There are 2 lawsuits that have really put spotlight on the legality of Elon Musk's status as de facto administrator of this imaginary Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. with the federal courts. So potentially the Supreme Court soon to decide whether his role complies with the Constitution's appointment clause. Now, I want Republicans to remember this. All of these things that you're doing eventually have the potential to backfire. You're not going to always be in power, so understand that the things that you're doing, a Democrat may do sometime soon. Now, the cases have the potential to sideline Elon Musk, at least temporarily. According to the article, it can undo changes that he's appeared to authorize involving federal agencies, property, staffing, and policy, according to ABC News. But the outcome is far, far from certain. So we're going to continue to watch this. Now, the appointments clause, according to the Constitution, says that a president may appoint officers of the U.S., like ambassadors, cabinet secretaries, and Supreme Court justices, but only by and with the advice and consent of the Senate through a confirmation vote. And hopefully you've been paying attention, but Elon Musk has not been confirmed. Now, the clause also says that a president may appoint inferior officers without Senate confirmation, but only if Congress has passed a law explicitly authorizing the position. Trump created the DOGE by executive order without involvement from Congress. So it is not constitutional. Now, Musk says that he only answers to Trump. Answering only to the president while wielding vast and enormous power is basically the platonic form of a principal officer, thus requiring Senate confirmation. This is not difficult to figure out. This is not hard to get through. The White House has said Elon Musk is classified as an unpaid special government employee, a status Congress created in 1962 for temporary executive branch hires to perform limited duties for no more than 130 days. So that shows you what they may be trying to hold up as the reason that they can lawfully do this. But the plaintiffs in the lawsuits against Elon Musk, a coalition of 14 states and a group of 24 federal civil servants, claim that the DOGE leader, Elon Musk, has in practice been acting as an officer of the U.S. and exercising authority well beyond an employee. You don't say. The lawsuit alleges that Elon Musk has directly made decisions about agency expenditures, contracts, government property, regulations. They also allege that he has acquired a vast trove of sensitive government data. Now, considering that Elon Musk is the beneficiary of federal contracts, and he is overseeing currently contracts from his competitors, there is clearly a conflict of interest given the depth of Elon Musk's access, authority, and autonomy, despite his normal special government employee designation. He is operating much more than just a mere employee. Now, the Supreme Court in a 1976 decision defined officer of the U.S. as a presidential appointee exercising significant authority pursuant to the laws of the United States. And I don't know about that, but more than 20 years later, an opinion authored by the late conservative Justice Antonin Scalia affirmed that officers either had to be confirmed by the Senate or supervised by someone who had been confirmed. None of these things are taking place right now. So hopefully the judges, the courts will get this thing together. And if it goes to the Supreme Court, they're going to probably do what Trump wants them to do. But understand this, I don't want to hear nothing when Democrats do the same thing. Definitely let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok at The Diamond K Show. A Delta plane flipped over while landing in Toronto from Minneapolis. Emergency crews are at the scene of an incident involving a Delta Airlines plane. So this plane, as you can see, upside down while arriving today at Toronto Pearson Airport from Minneapolis, St. Paul. So that's a scary thing. Can you imagine being on a plane and this is what happens? So the details of the incident have not yet been revealed. We don't know what caused it. But just seeing this commercial jet lying upside down on the snow-filled runway is something else. As of right now, all the passengers and the crew have been accounted for, and only 8 people have reportedly been injured. One of the victims had critical but non-life-threatening injuries, and the other 7 people suffered moderate to mild injuries, according to police. So thankfully, everybody is okay. This is the first major incident involving a commercial airline since the tragic DC plane crash that claimed the lives of 64 people on January the 29th. This also comes just hours after news broke that Donald Trump fired hundreds of people in the FAA, including landing and navigational aids. As more information is provided, of course, we will update you. So speaking of airport occurrences, a nurse, Elaine McAllister, has filed a lawsuit against the Kansas City police officers and airline staff who arrested her at Kansas City International Airport. The incident took place in 2023. Now, she is accusing them of false arrests, racial discrimination, and harassment, according to the Kansas City Star. So McAllister spent 4 nights in jail after she was allegedly falsely arrested before boarding a plane to Jamaica at the airport. So the arresting officers had a photo of the actual suspect, which McAllister's attorneys argue did not resemble her, other than the fact that they were both black women. So she was arrested, and McAllister alleges that the police did not even take fingerprints when she was arrested. Obviously, this would have cleared up the mistake. This would have cleared things up right away. But instead of going to Jamaica like she had intended, she spent the entire time that she would have been on vacation in jail. And so they said it was over a misdemeanor charge of marijuana possession that caused her to be falsely arrested, spending the 4 nights in jail. And so she's filed this lawsuit, and the plaintiff believes that the unfair treatment she experienced was discrimination as it relates to her race, according to the lawsuit. Now, as a result of this discrimination and false arrest, false imprisonment, the plaintiff has experienced and continues to experience significant emotional distress and loss of enjoyment of life. Oh, yeah. They are laying it on thick. The defendants listed in the lawsuit are Kansas City Airport Police, officers Kyle Grewalt and Matthew Zills, as well as the city of Kansas, which oversees the airport. Let's get them all, right? McAllister's arrest is one of hundreds of arrests over the years, black folks being arrested for, quote unquote, matching the description of another black person. So we've seen this happen many, many times. It just takes a similar license plate number for police to falsely accuse black people of crimes that they did not commit. Other times, it just takes a black person driving a car that slightly resembles a car that they are searching for. So McAllister's arrest came as a shock to her close friends, and they described her as a honest and most importantly, a law-abiding citizen. So she is going to try to get what she can get from them for this invalid warrant. A lawsuit states that McAllister was actually a victim of identity theft by another woman who used her identity when she was arrested for possession of marijuana in Kansas and then failed to show up from court, prompting the arrest warrant. So that's how that happened. Now, the claim accuses the officers of using an invalid warrant to arrest her because it was issued in Kansas while they were in Missouri. And it was only after they arrested her that a Missouri prosecutor obtained a valid Missouri warrant. But that's not how this thing is supposed to work. So the lawsuit also states that Missouri law does not permit warrantless arrest on fugitives unless they are accused of much more serious crimes, which state law describes as crimes punishable by death or imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. In other words, felony cases, which was not the case here. So they made a whole big scene. And like I said, keeping her for 4 days incarcerated. The arresting officers also did not bother to obtain her fingerprints to see if they matched the fingerprints of the actual woman who was wanted on this minor marijuana charge. And it's not been named in the lawsuit. The arresting officers also had a photo of the actual suspect, which her lawyers argued did not resemble Miss McAllister at all. Also, the actual suspect had multiple tattoos, which McAllister did not have. But the arresting officers, surprisingly, ignored this detail. So, a lot of evidence that could have confirmed that this was not the person. And so she's at the airport. And she's with a friend. They're going to go to Montego Bay, Jamaica. Before boarding the flight, she's approached by officers, Greenwald and Zills, and some U.S. Customs and Border Patrol officer. They asked her for identification. Not understanding what was happening, McAllister provided the officers with her driver's license and passport, which at this point, they handcuffed her and informed her she was being arrested for an outstanding warrant in Kansas related to the marijuana charge. The cops told her she had been pulled over and arrested for possession in Johnson County, Kansas, and then had a failure to appear. McAllister lives in Missouri, said she had not been arrested in Johnson County that day. She also told officers that her license had been stolen, which may be why it ended up in the hands of another woman. And she began crying. And so this whole thing was not resolved, or she was not released until 4 days later. An employee at jail asked McAllister to show him her tattoos, which did not match the tattoos of the actual suspect. And she was then released. And so it goes. So definitely, we're going to continue to follow this case, but it could have been a lot worse. But as a result of these actions, the plaintiff has experienced emotional distress, which has manifested itself in ways including, but not limited to, anxiety, fear, humiliation, degradation, and stress. All these things can come, I'm assuming, if you are falsely imprisoned. So that is a story, sadly, that we have seen before. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe at youtube.com/DJ Diamond K. All right, so we're going to talk right now about the WFH and the RTO. What are those? The WFH is work from home, and the RTO, of course, is return to office. So how do you feel about that? This, if you remember, obviously, a mandate to work from home was the policy that required employees to work remotely outside of a company's office. Now, sadly for some, a mandate to return to the office is that policy that requires employees to work in person at their company's office. So the WFH policy provided guidelines for employees to work remotely, like your job duties, your working hours, technical support. The RTO policy requires employees to return to the office either full-time or part-time. So Donald Trump has made an RTO mandate. This is an executive order, not a law, an executive order that requires federal employees to return to work in person as soon as possible. So he can control federal employees. And what started to happen is that many companies followed or are following this mandate, and it is causing all type of confusion. So factors that may influence RTO return to office mandates: the end of the pandemic, economic factors, a desire to increase government performance, and a desire to what they call increase fairness. Increasing fairness. It is interesting. Now, what is happening is that there are a bunch of companies, like I said, that are trying to institute this return to office mandate. Get back in here, cracking the whip, so to speak. But there has been some pushback. Surprisingly, to the powers that be, everybody is not super excited about coming back into the office. There are a lot of things at play here. And a lot of companies, like I said, are getting pushback. They're getting pushback from their employees because this is a different time, and a lot of folks are used to working remotely. Employees are pushing back at companies like Kroger, Amazon, Chase Bank, and others, and we're going to talk about that. So, of course, the pandemic prompted many companies to add remote or work from home options. And now these companies are deciding it's time for them to return into the office. Working from home is attractive to many people. According to a recent report, 40% of workers said that they would accept a pay cut to keep their remote jobs. That's how important it is. Some employees say returning to the office is a financial burden, and many of these employees are pushing back. Multiple Kroger employees, Kroger is a grocery chain. Multiple Kroger employees reached out after the company announced its mandating general office employees to return to work in person. And employees are saying that this would increase childcare expenses and double their current commuting costs. A lot of things about working remotely have been successful. Now, of course, there are downsides. The downsides of everything. Certain types of jobs in certain industries, let's say a creative industry, where you need to work in a group or collaborate, they found that working from home was not as productive as it should be. So you're starting to see a lot of companies bring employees back into the office. So we have a lot of companies demanding office returns in 2025. Get back in the office. Amazon, JP Morgan Chase, American Electric Power, AT&T, all places that they said 2025, we want our folks back. In Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine also ordered state employees to return to office full-time starting in March. About 60% of workers are in person full-time. About 30% of employees are hybrid, splitting their time between working from home and the office. I personally think that is the best solution, giving folks a little bit of flexibility. I think that folks are more productive at home. I think that folks actually work longer hours when they're home, when they're working from home. Working in the office is cool. I think that folks have got a lot better at Zoom and the video chatting components. It's not like a whole lot of do you hear me? Can you hear me? Folks can kind of get right into it. Meetings are a lot quicker, and folks have definitely got more comfortable since 2020. 2020 was a mess, but we're in 2025 right now, and a lot of companies are still embracing the hybrid work. Only about 10% of workers are fully working from home. So I don't know. You might want to think twice before moving across the country for a remote job. That way you don't waste your money, right? So it's like that remote job that you move cross country for could turn to be a in-office thing, and you were like, I came over here because I thought this was remote, and damn it. Now, J.P. Morgan Chase, the bank, they are having all kind of backlash over there. The company did a survey of employees' opinions, and it showed that the work-life balance was a key frustration for workers. And the issue has taken on new relevance at the bank in recent days, so they're getting a lot of pushback there. And it's interesting because the bank is taking a very firm stance on this. Like they want folks back in the office, and they're having a lot of complications. Let me say that they're having a lot of complications, and I can understand it because folks have gotten used to this remote environment. And if you're someone who works at a business, at a company, you understand that you understand if the road. You understand this. J.P. Morgan employees expressed dissatisfaction with this work-life balance, and they're saying that the executive decided to institute a 5-day in the office work week. 5-day in the office work week, and many people are not happy about that, not at all. So the employees are pushing back. And of course, the executives are trying to crack the hammer down, and you're going to do what we tell you to do, kind of thing. And it's interesting. It's interesting. So Jamie Dimon, who is in charge of J.P. Morgan Chase, this is Chase Bank, right? This is Chase Bank. And so if you worked at the bank, and of course, obviously, we're not talking about it in a teller position. You're not a bank teller, right? Obviously, they need to be in the office, right? But if you're doing something that you technically could be remote, I understand. But at the end of the day, Jamie Dimon is the CEO, and he said last week during the town hall that he didn't care how many employees signed this petition to bring back hybrid work, that the company, which announced in mid-January a 100% return to office mandate. And this angered many employees who argue that the move disproportionately pushed out women, caregivers, senior employees, and employees with disabilities. These are folks that will fall under the umbrella of DEI, and he's a Republican. They don't give a damn about that. So the return to office battle between the employees and the executives has turned heated at times. Many companies have blundered in their push to get workers back in person. And, a lot of folks feel a lot of different ways about this. And so we've posted this to our social media, and folks have said a lot. And we can go through this. Andrew says that it's important to remember that just as in any investment bank, there is a segregation of employees between the front office and the back office. The front office are very, very handsomely paid because the theory is that they're the ones who bring in the business. When they come into work 5 days a week, they are rewarded for it and then some. They can afford to make return to the office work. I suspect the work from home will be mainly a back office issue. People in the back office are not rewarded at JP Morgan. Their salaries are not competitive against their peers. People will struggle to adapt to being back in the office 5 days a week because commuting is expensive. Childcare is expensive. They will have opportunities elsewhere and they will take them. I think that we're seeing in Diamond's hubris, it's front office arrogance. He thinks his front office superstars won't leave, so there's no drama. He is wrong. Clients come to JP Morgan because of the end-to-end quality of the product. The back office are just as important, if not more so. Intelligence or work ethic are definitely not the differentiator between the two. There are going to be plenty of employees queuing up to take Diamond's back office talent away. That's very true. That is very true. Some other folks says if you are not originally hired as an on-site employee and things change because of COVID, then you should be prepared to return to on-site. If you were hired as a remote or hybrid worker and now the employer wants you to change it, there should be some negotiation. If an employee accepted a compensation package based on working remotely, then there needs to be adjusted compensation for travel time and cost, wardrobe, etc. Since most employees in the U.S. are at will, the employer can change the terms of employment. But if the management is good, they should understand this and make appropriate adjustments to compensate you. A lot of good feedback on this. Sarah says, guess I'm closing my Chase accounts this weekend. Irene said, when I worked in the office, I did not get as much work done at all. There were constant people standing at my desk, chit-chatting, and that went on all day long. I was much more productive at home, and I got more work done because I didn't have to get up and travel back and forth to work. I also did not have to end the day at a certain time because I was already home. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, as far as folks working more because they are home. And so Dan says, what did these employees do before the mandated work from home epidemic? They went to work. Now they need to go back to work, go back to whatever you had to do to get to work before the pandemic. We get it. Life has changed. Now finding the normalcy in work, or normalcy in work, and life has changed back. Get back to work like the rest of the working force, or stay home and find a job that will allow you to work from home. And so he's definitely a Trump supporter, I'm assuming. Says, what makes America great is you have a choice, or maybe he's not. Who knows? And so Mike Rogers says, I hated working from home during COVID. The CEO is spot on. It's his company. Go elsewhere. Mark says, I agree. If you think you can do better, then quit. And, so a lot of folks. David says, why do people in this country fight for ways to be less productive and raise costs? This country was founded on freedom and hard, productive work. Stop taking advantage of freedom and expecting others will pay your bills. Hard work equals freedom. All right. So that is, so folks have a lot to say about that. And I wonder, is your place of employment trying to get you back in the office? Are you already back in the office? Do you work a hybrid schedule? Let me know your thoughts below, of course, at the Diamond K Show on all social media, djdiamondk@gmail.com. If you are not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. YouTube.com/DJ Diamond K. We are here Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. And on the weekends, I go in the mix. So keeping you up to date with everything on all social media. Like I said, at the Diamond K Show. Anywhere you get your podcast, search the Diamond K Show. So red dye number 3 has been banned, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the other artificial food dyes. What about those? So the FDA has banned the dye known as red number 3 from the nation's food supply last month. It set some deadlines in for stripping the brightly hued additive from candy and cough syrup and baked goods and frozen treats. The agency said that it was taking the action because many studies found that the dye, also known as red dye number 3, right, caused cancer in lab rats. That's how they do the testing. So the federal statute requires the FDA to ban any additive found to cause cancer in animals, though officials stress that the way red number 3 leads to cancer in rats does not happen the same way in humans. But the dye nonetheless is only one of several synthetic colors that are widely found in common foods. So we had some questions about this. What are artificial colors? So synthetic dyes are petroleum-based chemicals that don't occur in nature. They're widely used in foods to enhance the visual appeal of the product. They want to make it brighter, make it, they want to, what do people say? Make it pop. They want to make things pop. Now, there are 9 dyes, including red number 3, that have been allowed in U.S. food. The other common color additives in food are blue number 1, blue number 2, green number 3, red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6. 2 permitted colors are used more rarely. This is the citrus red number 2 and orange B. So the FDA certifies that synthetic color additives and they regulate their use. So they're the ones that are in charge of that. Now, with the FDA's recent order on red number 3, manufacturers have until January 2027 to remove the dye from their products. Makers of ingested drugs like cough syrup have until January 2028. So you're going to see a change at some point about that. Is it going to taste different? This is really about the look of it. The consumer advocates, they're the ones that are very concerned about this, but we all should be concerned about this. For a long time, they have lobbied to ban red number 3 from food because of the rat to cancer link. So naturally, they're saying if it is causing these problems in the tests of the lab rats, it is not good for us humans. The dye was prohibited for decades in cosmetics, but not in food or ingested medicines. Isn't that interesting? So there's been more research that has been tied to artificial colors, to behavioral problems in some children. They're talking about hyperactivity and very impulsive nature, particularly for those at risk of attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, what do they call ADHD? You hear folks talking about that all the time. I got ADHD. This kid's got ADHD. This is heavy in cereal, heavy in candies. And these artificial colors are not the main cause of any ADHD, but they may contribute significantly to some cases. So the FDA says it has reviewed and evaluated the effects of the color additives on children's behavior. And it says that its scientists believe that most children suffer no adverse effects when consuming them. But it does acknowledge that some children may be sensitive to them. So momentum is building for the removal of all synthetic dyes in foods. So we're going to see how that goes. Now, you may wonder, what about natural colors? There's some natural colors, right? It is possible to add colors to food with natural ingredients. Of course, that's going to be more expensive, right? Some manufacturers have begun reformulating products to remove red number 3. In its place, they've used beet juice, a dye made from insects, or pigments from foods such as purple sweet potato, radish, or red cabbage. It can be tricky. I understand that. Natural dyes may be less stable than synthetic dyes, and maybe it will affect the heating and the acid levels. But it is not impossible to replace. There is no single solution. But the dyes are widely used. So if you're thinking, I need to avoid this, it can be difficult to find foods that do not contain any color additives. But the best way, what I can suggest, is that you read the ingredient labels. That's one way. But if the list is so long that you want to bother reading it, it probably has things in it that you can't pronounce, and you probably don't want to buy it. I mean, I'm just, if you're trying to avoid the dyes, that is what you would have to do. Let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show. Of course, on YouTube.com/DJ Diamond K or DJDiamondK@gmail.com. I go on the mix on weekends, 6 to 8, Monday through Friday. You can check us out with a new episode of the program, of course, onfirebroadcasting.com and thediamondkshow.com. So, Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, has issued a warning, and this warning says you need to beware of a new toll scam. TOLL scam, right? Now, fraudsters are sending mass text messages, demand payment. Watch for that. So the FTC says that you may get a text message saying that you have unpaid tolls and that you pay immediately. The text may show $1 amount that you are supposed to owe. It may include a link. So it's still your money. But if you click the link, they could get your personal info, like your driver's license, or even steal your identity. So it is best, if you're trying to avoid a scam like this, the FTC says do not click any links or respond to this unexpected text message. Scammers want you to react quickly and it's best to stop and check it out. Another way, you can check with the DMV, obviously, to see if you have something. But don't just up and pay this from some random text message. It's not good. It is not what you want to do. So we're trying to avoid things like this, and save your money as best as you can. Of course, the Diamond K Show, your man Diamond K in here, and there's so many things that come across my desk, and we're always not able to hit every little thing, but sometimes folks will email me and say, well, why didn't you talk about this? Or you're hiding that. And why won't you talk about this subject or that subject? So don't think that I don't read your emails or messages, because folks will say the craziest things to me, and send it to djdiamondk@gmail.com, which I enjoy reading, even when people send me foolishness, right? Even when people send foolishness, and don't think that they don't, because they do. They do send a lot of foolishness. But I don't want to discourage anybody from sending. One other thing to talk about quickly before we get out of here. There is a new bill that Republican lawmakers in Utah have been advancing. And this bill would allow students to fly the swastika flag and the Confederate flag, while it bans the pride flag. Now, this is an interesting concept here. The bill that originally aimed to ban the pride flag in schools and on government property was amended last week, late Thursday night. And the sponsor, Representative Trevor Lee, said that the legislation would let schools display Nazi and Confederate flags in some instances to allow flags part of a public school district or charter school approved educational curriculum to be displayed in the classroom. Can you imagine that? Now, as amended, the bill HB 77 now says a historic version of a flag that is in accordance with curriculum the local education authority governing board approves. This bill defines a flag as a usually rectangular piece of fabric with a specific symbolic design, and the displaying of a flag as to place a flag in a prominent location on government property where the flag is easily visible. Wow. That is insane. And so, there are a lot of the MAGA folks that are agreeing with this foolishness, this crazy talk. A lot of folks that agree with that. I, of course, am not one of them. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show. Of course, onfirebroadcasting.com, thediamondkshow.com. Very easy for you to join what we do. Become a member at thediamondkshow.com. And of course, it does not cost a thing to share. So definitely share, like, subscribe. YouTube.com/DJ Diamond K. I'll be back here tomorrow, 6 p.m. It's been real. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe at youtube.com/DJ Diamond K.